Hey everyone, so you've probably heard by now that the WCA board has made the decision to, one, add face-turning octahedron to the WCA, which, I mean, most people can agree that was the right call. And then their other decision was to phase out clock so that it would be removed after Worlds 2027. And one of the reasons for doing this that I think is really just not a good reason at all. I mean, they have a bunch of reasons that I don't like, but one of the reasons that I think is really bad, that because it's just not accurate, is that clock is prone to transport misscrambles more than other events. And I mean, it's kind of obvious why they think that because of the World's 2025 stuff. But like, if you actually sort of test it out, it's just like, no, it isn't. And so I'm going to sort of show what I've been doing to try to do that. So I don't have a clock cover or regular cue cover. So what I did is I just took the box from one of my clocks and cut out like a hole in it. Right. And also with this clock, you might notice the centers are missing. That's also to make it faster. So theoretically, this would be more prone to having a transport misscramble. I also don't have tape or screws on this clock. And all the magnets in the edges are pushed down and there's no magnets in the corners. So theoretically, this clock would be the most likely to have a transport misscramble. If I put it in the cover and say I shake the cover around a bunch, and it's exactly the same state, right? I mean, I can keep going. And it stays solved, right? So what I'm trying to show with this is that, like, under normal, like, these weren't normal composition circumstances at all. Like, you're not gonna have a runner that's doing this, shaking around their clock like that, and then just dumping it out like that. Because generally, what people do is put the clock in, and then when they get to the station, they'll do something like this, where they put their hand so that it doesn't, go all over the table. And as you can see, none of those instances was there any sort of movement with the dials in the clock. This clock's pretty fast, like it's not slow. And so, like, even if I just take the clock out, shake it around a bunch, obviously nothing happens. The only way I can get moves to happen that aren't from literally turning the dials or turning the pins, because you can also do that, is if I put it against the table and then press into the mat with like a decent amount of force, like, and then it'll move. But under its own weight, no movement. So, like, I'm just trying to sort of use that to show that, like, clock doesn't really have a high likelihood of having transport misscramble, and it's especially not high if you're running as a normal runner would, like, and you're not doing anything crazy to the clock. And so, I posted about this on the WCA forum, on the thread with all the discussion. And there were some people that were saying they had seen that there was instances where their clocks would have transportation misscrambles. So one of these people was Gabriel Fromm. And so I asked him about this because I'm honestly skeptical about what he actually did. He said he just placed the clock in the cover and then placed it on his desk, right? Which, that's what I'm doing right now. And I haven't gotten any transportation misscrambles. He said he got one after 6 tries. So, like, if he wants to explain sort of exactly what he was doing and how the transportation misscramble happened, that would be interesting, because in my experience, it just doesn't seem likely that would happen. And so the other thing was, this obviously was an issue in Worlds 2025, right, where there was misscrambles in clock finals. So I asked Brendan Dunnigan about this, and specifically about his clock, because I was thinking, oh, maybe his clock is just really fast, and Anthony's clock as well is just really fast. And what he said was that it's actually the opposite. His clock is fairly slow. It takes a lot of moves, a lot of force to do moves. And same thing with Anthony's clock. It takes a lot of force to do moves. And so, like, it's definitely not down to that. So we were trying to figure out, how is there a misscramble, or two misscrambles actually, in World's 2025 clock finals? Because that should be like a sort of a round where there wouldn't be a misscramble from scrambler inattentiveness, right? That should be the last thing that's happening at a World's final. And so what we thought the reason probably was that when the runner was putting down the puzzle, they were touching like a dial like this, and then as a result it caused it to move like that. Now that's honestly kind of hard for me to replicate, even like with my own clock. If I put down some pins, maybe I can do it, I don't know. But yeah, like it's kind of, I guess you can kind of do it. But either way, if that was the case, and I think that's a lot more likely than the cube turning by itself, if that was the case, that isn't an issue with the puzzle of the clock itself, because that's entirely avoidable if the runner used different technique and was more careful, essentially. So yeah, basically I'm making this video just to sort of explain why transportation misscrambles are not a problem, at least from what I've been testing. So I don't think that argument should be used because it's not accurate. Thanks for watching.